Welcome to Skinner and Chalmers' Weekly Roast. Today, when goats eat ballots and ghosts roam the halls, scandals and haunted stories.
Welcome back, everyone. We've got a lot to cover today, starting with the latest from the Memefield mayoral election. And of course, when we say latest, we mean the bizarre scandal involving some interesting participants in the voting process.
Interesting. That's one way to put it. I mean, let's just say it. Goats ate the ballots, Seymour. Actual, real-life goats. This is where we are now.
Yes, but they weren't just any goats, Gary. Mr. Fuzzybutt, my Mr. Fuzzybutt, and a few of his friends, including Green Goat, decided to have a little election day snack.
The little snack. They practically derailed the whole thing. You know, the votes are still being counted, and now that district might have to hold a completely new election. A goat-induced delay. What are the odds?
Listen, Mr. Fuzzybutt has impeccable taste. He's not just going to munch on any old paper. You have to consider that those ballots were probably marinated in some fine Democratic ink.
Oh, right. Because goats are notorious for their refined palates when it comes to ballot papers. This is what democracy looks like in Memefield.
But seriously, Gary, it wasn't all Fuzzybutt's fault. Green Goat and a few others were in on it too. There's even a rumor that they were just attracted to the ink scent or something.
Oh, yeah. And did they get the balance at the right temperature too? You know, because Van Goat seems to think that's a crucial part of this ridiculousness. They said something about how ballots at the right temperature become delicate.
I saw that. It was the most dramatic statement I've ever heard about paper. Delicate ballots, Gary. So delicate that a couple of goats just couldn't resist.
I mean, if I were Van Goat, I'd be deflecting as much as possible too. Have you heard the latest? John Wilkes Booth is now claiming that Van Goat planned the whole thing. Says it was all an elaborate plot to buy more time for campaigning, and I quote Booth, "What a tragedy has come to fruition on the day of the great election. A machination of the goat staged to impress the voter all the more at the ballot box. Tragedy. What tragedy is played out on the day of the election? Condemnation and ambush surrendered by Van Goat. So clever and ingenious, yet we condemn it greatly."
Oh, Booth is full. On conspiracy theory mode now, huh? That's rich. As if Van Goat is some master goat whisperer sending their loyal followers to eat the competition. Literally.
Hey, maybe it's not as far-fetched as it sounds. Van Goat does have that special connection with the goat voters.
The goat appeal, you mean? It's both their greatest strength and their biggest weakness, isn't it? You can only win so many goat votes before people start getting suspicious.
Yeah, but honestly, I don't think Van Goat's pulling the strings behind this one. I mean, sure, he's an oddball, but orchestrating a goat ballot, eating scandal, that's a bit much even for them.
Oh, absolutely. Van Goat was quick to condemn the whole thing too, which, you know, is the smart move. Can't be seen condoning ballot eating no matter how delicate they are. They've got to distance themselves from this debacle fast.
The real question is, how are the election officials even handling this? I mean, do they have a contingency plan for when people or goats disrupt democratic processes? Because I didn't see that in the election manual.
Can you imagine the conversation? Well, we've got a recount in District 4. Thanks to some hungry goats, it's chaos. But it's Memefield, so par for the course.
Democracy in action, folks. Only in Memefield can a couple of goats throw the entire mayoral election into a tailspin. I'm sure ArticTiger is having a field day with this one.
Oh, absolutely. You know he's going to use this as leverage. If I were mayor, I'd keep your ballot safe from rogue farm animals or something like that.
You'll probably run on a platform of secure, goat-proof polling stations. But seriously, how are the candidates handling this mess?
Well, besides Booth going full conspiracy theorist, I think Master Chief is still flying under the radar as usual. He's been pretty quiet, but maybe this is his moment. He could be the candidate who says, "I'm the one who can bring order to this goat-fueled chaos."
Yeah, if he ever speaks up, that is. And DeZenzo's out there still pushing his internet plan like nothing happened. I saw a tweet from him that said something like, "Goats may eat ballots, but they can't eat your bandwidth."
Oh, DeZenzo, at least, as long as they don't eat the cables. You got to admire his focus. No matter what's happening, he's sticking to that internet plan like his life depends on it.
Yeah, too bad there's no future in iMains, though. People have already hinted in the last episode that they are not a fan of memes generated by artificial intelligence. Even our dear Loomis of Failing thinks so.
Right? Poor Dezenzo living in 2024 with dreams of the meme economy of 2034. But back to the election. Do you think we'll see a repeat vote in that district?
Honestly, I think we have to. There's no way the election results hold up after the goat interference. It's just too messy.
Yeah, I guess you're right. Well, at least it'll give us more time to analyze the candidates. Maybe Van Gogh can win over some more human voters this time.
If they can keep the goats in line, maybe. But honestly, Seymour, I think this is one of those Memefield moments that will go down in history. Election 2024. The goat ballot scandal.
It's definitely one for the books. I can already see the headlines. But hey, it's these moments that make Memefield what it is, right?
Right? Democracy Memefield style. Who knew goats would play such a big part in our political landscape?
Just wait until we get to the goats producing milk based on their names. So, after all the chaos with the goats and ballots, I got to thinking, Gary. You know how Van Gogh and Moo Bunny were telling us about this goat naming thing? That whole idea that goats named Nubbins somehow produce twice as much milk?
Oh, I remember. Twice as much milk just by naming your goat Nubbins. As if goats have some hidden milk-producing superpower that can only be unlocked with the right name. It's Memefield, Seymour. Of course we believe something that ridiculous.
It gets even better. They also said, and I quote, naming a goat dancer or prancer results in producing 15 milks. 15 milks? What does that even mean?
15 milks. What's a milk? Are we counting glasses, buckets, or just units of milk? Is there a Memefield standard measurement for milk now?
Maybe there's some underground goat milk conspiracy we've been missing all these years. You know, the secret world of goat milk economists calculating milk in Memefield units.
Right, and all we had to do was call the goats by their fancy names. I'm telling you, we've been doing it wrong. Mr. Fuzzy Butt should have been Fuzzy Dancer Butt from the start.
Oh, can you imagine? Fuzzy Dancer Butt just strutting around, producing 15 mysterious milks a day. I'd be the richest goat owner in Memefield. I'd sell all the milk.
And I'd invest in it. Forget the election. This could be the start of Memefield's new economy. The goat milk standard.
Move over, Dezenzo, and your generated means. It's all about goat milk futures now. We could start naming all the goats in town, see who hits the jackpot with the most milks.
I'm sure Van Goat would support this. They could lead a whole movement, the Great Goat Naming Revolution. And Moo Bunny, oh, she'd be right there, probably pushing for more bunny milk research.
Oh, Moo Bunny would be all over that. Nubbins for milk. Dancer for 15. It would be her new campaign slogan.
Forget the mayoral election. This is the real Memefield drama. Everyone's going to be renaming their goats by next week, trying to squeeze out an extra few milks. I mean, who could resist?
Can you imagine walking through town, people shouting, "Hey, have you met my goat prancer? Nubbins? Dancer? Just trying to stack those milk stats." Just like wearing armor in a video game and getting set benefits.
Oh, the lengths people would go to. And it's not like this is backed by any kind of science, just pure Memefield myth.
You say myth. But I say it's the next scientific frontier. Someone's got to study this. Maybe I should rename Mr. Fuzzy Butt and conduct some experiments. See if I can unlock his true milk potential.
Right? You could turn your backyard into a goat milk lab. You'll have white coats, test tubes filled with goat milk, and clipboards for measuring. What exactly? The goat to milk ratio.
We'd have to track the exact moment a goat goes from 1 milk to 15. Would it be a gradual increase or just an overnight explosion of dairy?
Right, and just when we think we've figured it out, it'll turn out to be something completely absurd. Like it's not the name at all, but whether the goat prefers the left side of the pasture over the right.
Or maybe it's all about temperature. Just like Van Gogh said about the ballots. Get the ballots to the right temperature and they're irresistible to goats. Same goes for milk, apparently.
Oh, of course. The secret to life in Memefield. Temperature control. Keep everything at the perfect temperature and all mysteries are solved.
Well, I suppose that makes about as much sense as anything else around here. But, hey, I'm going to start calling Mr. Fuzzy Butt Fuzzy Dancer Butt just for fun.
Go for it. You never know, Seymour. In Memefield, stranger things have happened. Just look at the plankton soup situation.
Oh, don't even get me started on that. When Professor Frank decided to breed plankton in the neighborhood. For, well, soup?
Oh, it was classic Memefield madness. I still can't believe he was going to sell that plankton soup with that awful slogan. What was it again? Sea flavor in every packet.
Exactly. Sea flavor in every packet. Like that's supposed to make people want to buy it. I swear, sometimes I wonder how anyone in Memefield manages to sell anything. All the shops are probably only kept alive by me when I burn the food again and have to buy some random stuff.
And let's not forget that time he tried to promote it by setting up a plankton farm right next to the town square. Nothing says appetizing like a bubbling tank of algae.
That whole area smelled like the ocean for weeks. I think even the goats stayed away from that one. The salt-loving goats, can you imagine?
Yeah, and that's saying something. If Mr. Fuzzybutt and his friends didn't try to eat it, you know it was bad.
Memefield might be the only place where goats eat ballots, but draw the line at plankton soup?
We got standards, Seymour. Even the goats know when to say no, thank you. No plankton, no problem.
Well, here's hoping the next big food trend in Memefield doesn't involve goats or plankton. Though, knowing this town, I'm sure we'll be in for some other culinary catastrophe soon.
Maybe next election we'll see candidates campaigning with plankton soup milkshakes. You know, to win over the health-conscious voters.
Let's just hope Mr. Fuzzybutt doesn't develop a taste for that. Otherwise, we're really in trouble.
Oh, Seymour, if that happens, I'm moving out.
You say that every week, Gary. But here you are, still in Memefield, dealing with all the goat drama and me.
It's a love-hate relationship, what can I say? Just like trying to get 15 milks from a goat named Prancer, laughing.
So Gary, different topic. Halloween is just over a week away, and I've been thinking, I've got the perfect costume idea for you this year.
Oh no, here we go. What brilliant scheme have you cooked up this time, Seymour? Please tell me it doesn't involve something embarrassing.
Oh, nothing too outrageous. I was thinking you could go as an emu.
An emu? Really? An emu? Well, I guess it could be worse. At least it's not a jellyfish again like that one year.
Oh, now it gets better. You see, for this emu costume, I've taken the liberty of ordering you a kangaroo suit.
Kangaroo? For an emu costume? Seymour, are you hearing yourself right now?
Look, they're both from Australia. It's close enough, right?
Close enough. You want me hopping around in a kangaroo suit while telling people I'm an emu? You realize that makes no sense whatsoever.
Gary, you underestimate the versatility of the kangaroo suit? Just think about it. You hop around, flail your arms a bit, and if anyone asks, just tell them I'm an emu who's having an identity crisis.
An identity crisis? I'm gonna look like a kangaroo who got lost on the way to the outback. I'll be the talk of Memefield for all the wrong reasons.
Exactly. Isn't that half the fun of Halloween? It's supposed to be chaotic. No one's gonna care if you're an emu in a kangaroo costume. Well, except maybe the zoologists, but they'll just be impressed by your creativity.
Oh, sure, let's call it creativity. I'm not sure how hopping around and telling people I'm an emu in disguise will go over, but knowing Memefield, I might just blend right in.
See, now you're getting it. And if anyone asks why you're not an actual emu, just tell them the kangaroo suit was on sale. Blame the budget cuts?
Ah, yes, the classic budget cuts excuse. Memefield's tried-and-true explanation for everything, especially for the very important school system where they just try to avoid any costs, which would be highly necessary. But yeah, I'll just say I was aiming for emu, but kangaroo was all they had left at the store.
Exactly. No one will question it. Memefield logic, Gary.
You know, I have this sneaking suspicion you're just messing with me for your own amusement. You'd love to see me hopping around like a confused kangaroo at the Halloween party.
I mean, can you blame me? The visual is just too good to pass up. Plus, let's not forget last year's costume disaster.
Oh no, don't remind me. The penguin costume. That cursed thing.
He looked fantastic as a penguin, Gary. Until, of course, he waddled down the stairs and at the Halloween party. Well, fell, actually.
Oh, that were the catastrophe. I went full penguin mode and slid down the entire staircase. I swear I've never seen Principal King laugh so hard.
Oh, right. Luckily, he was there to help you up. But the real tragedy was your 3D printed pumpkin bucket, remember? It shattered when you landed on it.
Oh yeah, my poor pumpkin bucket. That thing was special, Seymour. My students from my university days gave it to me when 3D printing was just starting to become a thing. I still can't believe it broke.
Well, that's actually what I wanted to talk to you about today. You see, I've been working on something.
Oh, what now, Seymour? You're not about to tell me you've somehow turned Mr. Fuzzybud into a pumpkin, are you?
Not quite, though that would be impressive. No, this is even better. Yo, you know how we've got that 3D printer at school, right?
Yeah?
Well, I decided to print you a new pumpkin bucket.
Wait, seriously? You did that for me?
Yeah, but here's the best part. I actually managed to save some of the filament remnants from your original bucket when it broke, had them recycled by a company, and used them to print part of this new one.
You saved the original filament, Seymour. Wow, that's incredible. I can't believe you went through all that trouble. Thank you so much. That's bloody lovely.
Of course I did, Gary. I know how important that bucket was to you. So consider this my Halloween gift to you. Brand new pumpkin bucket with a little piece of the original still in it. Perfect for holding lots of sweets.
I'm speechless, Seymour. That bucket meant so much to me, and now you brought it back to life. I don't know what to say, really. Thank you.
You don't have to say anything, Gary. I'm just glad I could do something to make Halloween a little more special this year.
Well, it's already shaping up to be memorable, what with me running around as an MU kangaroo hybrid and all. But now I've got my trusty pumpkin bucket back.
Just don't fall down any stairs this time. Marlin.
I'll be extra careful, I promise. No more penguin-style tumbles for me, and who knows? Maybe this year I'll actually collect more candy than bruises.
That's the spirit. And hey, with your new bucket, you'll have no excuse not to fill it to the brim. Maybe you'll even get those elusive 15 milks we were talking about earlier.
Oh yeah, I'll just tell everyone it's not candy I'm after. It's milk. 15 milks a bust.
Now that's the kind of Halloween energy we need in Memefield.
Well, thanks to you, Seymour, I'm ready to take on Halloween in full force this year, even if I do have to be a kangaroo. I'm a hybrid.
That's the attitude. Now let's just hope the goats don't get into the candy this year, too.
Oh, knowing this town, anything's possible.
Speaking of Halloween, we've got the big Memefield Elementary festivities coming up soon. The annual parade, the costume contests. It's always such a blast.
Oh yeah, the parade. I'm still trying to erase the memory of last year's costume fiasco. Remember when half the staff showed up in Witcher costumes? I lost count of how many Gerald Rivias we had wandering around the halls.
Oh, that was legendary. You couldn't swing a cat without hitting a Gerald. And then to top it all off, wasn't there someone in a Tracer costume? From Overwatch, right?
Yep, that was Mrs. Belcher from the math department. She was so into it, too. Every hallway dash she made. Cheers, love. The cavalry's here. He was a little terrifying, to be honest.
Oh, but come on. That's the spirit of the season. If you're not going all out, what's the point, right? Yeah, I've heard this year the competition is going to be even fiercer. Mrs. Belcher is apparently planning to come as a full-on xenomorph from Alien.
A xenomorph? Are you serious? How is she even going to move around the classroom in that thing?
I have no idea, but knowing her, she'll find a way.
You know, we should set up a betting pool. Who's going to have the most outrageous costume this year? My money's on Mrs. Belcher, but then again, Mr. Higgins is notorious for showing up as a T-Rex every year. Think he'll stick to that again?
Oh, Higgins and his inflatable T-Rex. I heard he's upgrading this year, though. Something about a mechanical tail.
A mechanical tail. I like that idea. I wonder how massive it is. This is going to turn into a full-on Jurassic Park, isn't it?
Wouldn't surprise me. But hey, speaking of crazy ideas, did I tell you about the spooky science fair we're doing this year?
Oh, no, you didn't. What's the deal with that?
So we're setting up different spooky themed experiments for the kids. Think dry ice, glowing potions, maybe even a mini volcano that erupts. Krakatoa couldn't be the host for that. It's all in the name of mad science, and the kids are going to love it.
That actually sounds like a lot of fun. Are the kids participating in the experiments, or are we just spooking them with cool science tricks?
And they get to help with some of the experiments, like mixing the potion that makes the slime volcano erupt. But we'll also have a couple of surprises up our sleeves. I might have convinced Principal King to dress up as a mad scientist for one of the presentations.
Oh, that's brilliant. Principal King is a mad scientist. I can already picture the maniacal laughter. He's got the perfect voice for it, too.
Oh, definitely. I've heard him practicing. It's surprisingly unsettling.
Maybe we should make it a permanent role for him. Mad scientist principal, all year round. It could really liven up those Monday morning assemblies.
We might be onto something there. But that's not the only competitive spirit going around. The pumpkin carving contest is coming back in full force this year.
All right about that. Last year's was wild enough, but now it's gotten intense. Staff, parents, students. It's like everyone in town has something to prove with their carving skills.
You're telling me. Oh, you've telling the low. She's even roping in some of the kids to help with the fine details. I've never seen anything like it.
A village scene. That's next level. What happened to just carving a simple jack-o'-lantern and calling it a day?
Those days are long gone, Gary. It's Memefield, remember? Everything has to be bigger, crazier, and somehow involve goats.
Well, you're not wrong about that, but honestly, I love the pumpkin carving contest. It's one of the few times the whole community really comes together. Parents, kids, teachers. It's such a nice way to connect. And the fact that the students get to join in makes it even better.
Absolutely. And the atmosphere is always so cozy, you know. Pumpkins everywhere. The smell of cider and cinnamon. It just screams fall. Plus, there's that little shopping area set up by the community where they sell all sorts of handmade goodies.
Oh yeah, that's right. People from all over Memefield selling their fall-themed creation. You've got Moo Bunny with her amazing knitted scarves and blankets. Loomis of Failing selling those clever Halloween puns on T-shirts.
And don't forget Vanilla. He always brings those beautifully decorated cookies shaped like pumpkins and bats. I swear they're almost too pretty to eat.
Almost. But we manage somehow, don't we?
Oh, without a doubt. Then there's Shoe Funk with his handcrafted wooden decorations. Rachel rocks with her jewelry. She always makes those fall-themed necklaces with little leaf charms. They're stunning.
And Purpleton Berry has got that booth with all the homemade candles, right? His autumn scents are incredible. Like you walk past her stand and it's like being in a pumpkin patch.
Yep, those are his candles. And Zitzarilla brings the most amazing homemade jams and preserves. The apple butter, to die for.
And I think Fox makes those cozy, oversized sweaters. Perfect for the chilly fall evening.
I got one last year. It's like wearing a hug. Oh, and Laza is back this year too, selling his fall-themed pottery. The mugs he made last year were an absolute hit.
I remember those. They had little pumpkins and leaves painted on them, right? I snagged one for myself and have been using it ever since. The perfect mug for my morning coffee.
It's a great little event, really. The whole town comes together for Halloween, but of course, nothing compares to the grand finale, the ghostly goat dance.
Ah, yes, the one and only. It wouldn't be Memefield without Van Goat headlining the ghostly goat dance, right?
You know it? Everyone gathers in the town square. The goats are all dressed up in their spooky costumes, and Van Goat leads the whole thing with their best ghostly moves.
It's always the highlight of the night, and let's be real. Only in Memefield could we have a Halloween event where dancing goats are the main attraction.
Yeah. It's the perfect blend of spooky and ridiculous. That's what makes Halloween in Memefield so special.
Couldn't agree more. There's something about this town during fall. It just feels like home. And the annual Memefield School Staff Meeting. You'd think after all these years I'd get used to it, but it still feels like stepping into a Halloween-themed soap opera every time.
Oh, absolutely. It's less of a staff meeting and more of a haunted production. Let's be honest. I mean, half the people are in full costume trying to discuss serious school business while dressed as witches and zombies. It's like the Halloween party starts early.
Exactly. And somehow I always get roped into running it. Every year. Why is that?
Because you've got that perfect in charge but fun vibe. People look at you and think, here's a man who can handle a room full of werewolves and vampires while still talking about educational policies.
Well, thanks for the vote of confidence, but I'm not sure I can keep a straight face this time. Last year, I had to give a presentation on budget cuts while Mrs. Wiggum was dressed as a giant pumpkin. She kept adjusting her pumpkin hat every 5 minutes.
And don't forget when Mr. Higgins tried to make a serious point about curriculum updates while wearing that inflatable T-Rex suit every time he moved. The whole thing squeaked.
Oh, don't remind me. I could barely keep it together. I think I ended up agreeing to something ridiculous just to stop the squeaking.
I remember that. Wasn't it something about letting the T-Rex lead the next fire drill?
Yes, and guess who got stuck coordinating that? Me, of course.
Well, someone's got to keep the dinosaurs in line.
It's a hard job, but someone's got to do it. And speaking of hard jobs, have you seen the agenda for this year's meeting? It's packed with proposals. Everyone's trying to sneak in their Halloween-themed projects again.
Oh, I know. We've got pumpkin math, ghost geography, and even haunted history on the list. I'm all for Halloween spirit, but I can already hear the groaning from the traditionalists on the staff.
Oh, you mean like Mrs. Frumple from the English department? She's going to have a fit when she sees that someone wants to replace the usual spelling tests with Halloween-themed crossword puzzles.
Oh, Mrs. Frumple's going to lose it. She's still mad about the time we put up those fake spider webs in the hallway for the fall festival. She called it a grotesque display of disorder. What a downer.
Well, in her defense, she's probably the only person in the school who sees Halloween decorations as a threat to civilization. I heard she once tried to ban jack-o'-lanterns because they were too distracting.
That sounds about right. And speaking of distractions, we've got to decide on the school decorations this year. You know how that goes. Everyone has their own ideas, but in the end, it's always the head janitor who gets the final say.
Oh yeah, Willie Vlad. He might be the only janitor in the world who dresses up as a vampire for Halloween and still manages to command more authority than the entire school board.
It's the cape. The man knows how to rock a cape. Plus, he's got that whole mysterious aura. You just know he's going to swoop in at the last minute and declare that we're going with black and red for the mood, and everyone will nod like it's gospel.
Honestly, I think he enjoys the power. One year, he decided we needed Gothic candelabras in the cafeteria. It was like dining in Dracula's castle.
Oh, I remember that. The kids loved it, though. They thought it was the coolest thing ever.
True. Though I'm not sure the school board was thrilled when we almost set off the fire alarm with all the folk smoke from the mysterious cauldron centerpieces.
Yeah, that was unfortunate. But hey, you got to admire Vlad's dedication to the theme.
Oh, absolutely. I just wonder what he's got planned this year. He's been unusually quiet about it so far, and that makes me nervous.
Really going minimalist this year. You know, just a few tasteful coffins scattered around the playground.
Oh, that would be Vlad's version of understated, wouldn't it? But seriously, I'm just hoping we can all agree on something that doesn't involve fog machines or live bats.
Well, we can always bribe him with those garlic-free cookies from the fall festival. He's a sucker for those.
The irony of a vampire-loving janitor with a sweet tooth for garlic. Free cookies never gets old.
Memefield Elementary, where the traditions are weird. The costumes are wilder, and the janitor is more powerful than the principal.
I couldn't have said it better myself. But hey, if we survive this meeting without getting roped into any more ridiculous Halloween project, I'll consider it a win.
Oh, come on. You know you secretly love it. Just imagine. This could be the year we finally convince the school to put on a full haunted history play. The students would love it.
Oh, don't tempt me. You know I can't resist a good historical reenactment.
I knew it.
You know, speaking of Halloween traditions, I've been hearing those local Memefield legends again. The spooky ones. It's like they start up every year, right when the leaves begin to fall.
Ah, the classic tales of Memefield's finest ghouls and goblins. No Halloween season would be complete without a little supernatural drama, right?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, who doesn't love hearing about the infamous Memefield Island swamp monster lurking in the forest? I swear, the details of that story get weirder every year.
You mean the one that supposedly haunts the woods near the old mill? Yeah, that's a town favorite every year. Someone swears they've seen it. Big, slimy, and with glowing red eyes.
Right, and don't forget the part about it being the size of a car, but somehow completely silent, until of course it decides to let out that blood-curdling scream. Very convenient for storytelling.
Oh yes, can't leave out the scream. It's always a friend of a friend who heard it too. But you know what really sells it? The fact that every time it's spotted there's always a full moon. Classic.
Well, clearly the swamp monster is just very punctual about its appearances. Probably checks a lunar calendar before heading out to terrorize the locals.
It's so ridiculous, but I kind of love how it's become part of Memefield's identity. Like, our town might not have the most exciting Halloween parades, but we've got a swamp monster. What more could you ask for?
Exactly. And don't forget about the whistling ghost in the elementary school halls. That one used to freak me out when I first started working here. People said it was the spirit of an old janitor wandering the building at night.
Oh, you mean Old Whistler? Yeah, they say he whistles twinkle, twinkle, little star while he's roaming the hallways, looking for unfinished work. The legend goes that if you hear the whistling, it means you left your classroom in a mess.
That's the one. I remember hearing those stories when I was new, and one night I actually did hear some faint whistling. I had stayed late to finish grading papers, and I was the only one in the building. I was spooked out of my mind.
Oh no. Did you leave a classroom a mess?
Of course not. I'm a professional, but that didn't stop me from walking out of the building very quickly that night.
And now you're saying you don't believe in ghosts, but here you are, running from a whistling janitor spirit.
Look, I don't believe in ghosts in the daytime, but when you're alone in an empty school at night and you hear something like that, your mind starts to play tricks on you.
Fair enough. Even I get a little creeped out in the school after hours, especially when it's windy outside and the windows start rattling. Perfect setting for a ghost sighting.
And don't even get me started on the sounds in our house at night. Remember when I thought Mr. Fuzzybutt was scratching around in the living room, but it turned out he was fast asleep.
Oh, I remember. You were convinced it was a poltergeist moving furniture around.
And I wasn't convinced. It was a poltergeist. I was hearing noises that I couldn't explain, and then to top it all off, your creepy attic dolls decided to shift positions on their own.
Oh, not the dolls. I told you, they're just old collectibles. They don't actually move.
That's what you say, but I swear I saw them in one spot, and when I came back later, they were all facing a different direction. Those things are nightmare fuel.
All right. Maybe they're haunted just a little bit. Adds character to the house, don't you think?
Sure, let's go with that. I'll take the whistling ghost and the swamp monster over those dolls any day.
Well, if it makes you feel any better, I haven't seen any actual ghosts or monsters in Memefield. Just a lot of very creative stories.
And very creepy dolls.
Fine. I'll move the dolls out of the attic if it'll help you sleep.
Now that's a Halloween miracle.
Then I'll just put them in the garden shed.
Great. Exactly the opposite of what I want. Then I'll have these stupid living dolls standing around in the garden at night.
Hey, they have to go somewhere. I'm not going to throw them away. But anyway, folks, that about wraps it up for today's episode. We've covered everything from goat conspiracies to haunted Memefield, and I think we're both ready to dive headfirst into the Halloween madness.
Definitely. Whether it's ghostly whistling or kangaroo costumes pretending to be Emus, we've got a lot to look forward to this spooky season.
Just remember, if you hear some faint whistling late at night, maybe it's time to tidy up a bit.
Or just run for the nearest exit. Either way, we hope you all enjoy your own Halloween plans. Whether that involves creepy legends, weird costumes, or just a lot of candy, or a cozy evening on the couch.
And one last tip. Never leave your ballot unattended around hungry goats. Take it from Mr. Fuzzybutt.
Wise words. Thanks for joining us, everyone. Stay spooky, and we'll see you next time.
See you next time, Memefield.